Hey everyone! So, I finally got to watch Elena of Avalor again. It's honestly been a while, and I honestly do like this episode. This episode focuses on two main plots in this story. The first story is about King Toshi, who's coming from the land of Sato, and how he wants to visit to see whether or not they can be good trading allies, and so the whole entire family and the Grand Council is trying to figure out a way in order to impress him and show that they are in fact capable of being really good allies with his kingdom. The second story is about Elena's sister Isabel and how she made this invention called the Presto Changer for this invention fair that she's taking part in. Now what it does is that when she bikes on it, the person standing on this little podium thing gets sucked into the closet, and then they change clothes, magically. Now the thing about these two stories is that even though they are pretty different from one another, the one thing that they share in common is the fact that Elena needs to be in both events, and she wants to be in both events, but she honestly can't because they're held both on the same day. Esteban, he knew that King Toshi was gonna come over on the same day as the invention fair, but he never told anybody about this, including Elena. So she's really freaking out about it, of course, because she wants to be there for Isabel, but she also wants to be there for her kingdom. Unfortunately, she broke Isabel's invention when she tried dragging it inside the building because she was in a rush, and unfortunately she dropped it. She promised Isabel to get her a twist hook back in the castle so that way she can help fix the invention in time before it's even judged. Throughout this whole episode, Isabel is constantly trying to make sure that she pleases everybody, both in the castle and in the invention fair, but at the same time she can't really do it like perfectly, so she's had other people help her in her journey, like Naomi and even her grandma, to basically cover for her and help her out with like making sure that King Toshi and everyone else doesn't really know that she's basically trying to switch back and forth between place to place. She's constantly having to like change clothes too, but of course that doesn't necessarily work well either, because eventually Isabel finds out that she was going back to the castle because she was wearing a different pair of shoes. So in the first story with King Toshi, the Grand Council agrees with Esteban that they should show King Toshi that they understand the ways of the King of Sato by basically like treating them to a cultural feast and cultural events. Esteban really tries his best to try to impress King Toshi and the Grand Council by showing that he is in fact the rightful leader of Avalor, but of course he screws up every single time, and there was this really cringeworthy scene where he's trying to do a very traditional Japanese dance, but of course he fails, thank goodness, because he's just not a really nice person, he just seems very selfish. And in the end of the first story, the Grand Council gets to do what they wanted to do with King Toshi by basically presenting them their culture and how they do things in Avalor. They gave them tamales to try, and they presented them with Spanish music. It was a pretty subtle lesson to teach to show that it's okay to embrace your own culture and to spread it to other people, as long as you appreciate and value other people's culture and respect theirs. So, and it was just like really nice to see that, considering that King Toshi, he wanted to become trading partners with the Kingdom of Avalor because of Elena and how she shows that she has really strong family values. And of course, the Kingdom of Sato also has those strong family values as well. And that's also a really nice lesson to show as well, like the fact that even though cultures seem very different from one another, they do share a lot of similarities, and it's better to bond with one another over those similarities rather than fight over differences. With the second story, however, with Isabel and the fair, she has her royal guard with her named Gabe. He's the one that's helping her try to fix the Presto Changer without like trying to break it even further, and he even helps test it out a couple times, but of course it doesn't really work. But in the end of the second story, Elena decides, you know what, I'm gonna go back to Isabel and I'm gonna let King Toshi know that I just can't stay there anymore because she wants to be there for her sister for the invention fair. So she goes back to the invention fair, meets up with her sister and gives her the twist hook and tries to help fix everything in time. She was able to present her invention to the judges, and of course the invention actually worked. What was even more surprising was the fact that King Toshi even traveled to the invention fair to see what was going on and see why she wanted to be there so badly. So it was just really cool. The song that was sung in this episode is called Sister Time. It's sung by Elena and Isabel because of course they're sisters, and the song is called Sister Time. I didn't even need to search up what the song title was because they kept repeating the words Sister Time over and over and over again. The song's catchy, but the lyrics are lazy. Other than that, this episode was pretty nice actually. I really did enjoy the fact that you get to meet people from other kingdoms and see how they interact with one another. I love how George Takei was actually voice acting in this episode. Like, I didn't notice at first that he was voicing King Toshi until he said the words "oh my," which is a very famous catchphrase of his. So when he actually said that word, I was like, oh my gosh, it's George Takei. I'm honestly really hoping that they have more famous guest voice actors. Model Sister is a really good episode to show kids that it's okay to embrace one's culture and to appreciate others. That's not a very common moral to see in kids shows, so to have that in an episode is honestly very refreshing from the other generic morals, you know? And just how the two stories flowed very well with one another, and how like there's one story here, one story there, and like they're all stitched together because of Elena. I'm just really happy that the show is very entertaining for both younger and older audiences, because if that's not really the case, then it wouldn't be very entertaining for, of course, like the parents or guardians or just people who just like watching, you know, animated series in general. So this episode is amazing, and I definitely think that it has really good rewatchability as well. So anyways, those are my thoughts on Model Sister. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!